What's up, guys? Capital G here. Happy Thanksgiving. Going to give you a YCD discussion. This one's going to be entitled Almost There. It's about two decks that I think have a lot of potential. One of these decks has already won a YCS. That proves that they're solid. They're very good picks for regionals. Not to mention a YCS too. I feel like they're both under the radar, and they have a lot of things going for them, like limited side deck. Like, people don't side deck a lot for them. People play badly against the deck, and unfortunately, I don't like to advocate as that being one of the reasons to run a deck. But it is what it is. And yeah, the two decks that I'm going to talk about first off is Scraps. Scraps kind of remind me of Gladiators to a certain extent. GB is a deck that when you play against a control player, their often win condition is just kind of lock you down with chariot juggling, and then eventually make Hurricane. You're locked out of monster effects, spells, and traps, and you really can't do anything against that. Well, Scraps are kind of the same way, especially since their inclusion of Royal Decree, which I don't know if you guys checked the top 16 decks at YCS Milan, but two Scraps made top 16, and they were both Decree builds, and I think it's just generally known Decree builds are just better. No need to worry about all that deep prison and bottomless stuff messing with your Scrap Dragon when you can just lock them down and be done with it. And it's kind of the same with Scraps, because of Scrap Dragon's ability to dodge, Solemn Warning and Mirror Force and Torrential Tribute, Dark Hold, for his ability to just, deflect so many key cards and still get you another Scrap. And if you have Golem, obviously you could just make another Scrap Dragon. But his ability to dodge so many cards is what makes the deck so amazing. A lot of times when you just get Scrap Dragon out and like a Decree, you just kind of win because your opponent can't get anything big enough to kill him. And if they're on any type of defensive, it's like if you get somebody top decking against a Baronic, it's so hard to come back, because if you have anything that has to be set, well, guess what? You're kind of fucked. And it's the same exact thing that Scrap Dragon does. When Scrap Dragon hits the field, he puts so much pressure on your opponent that it's really hard for them to answer. Another thing I really like that Scrap has going for it is that even though it plays Decrees, the deck has some decent walls, especially with the fact that Scrap Goblin can't be destroyed in battle. The deck plays Spies, which somebody actually noted on Duelist Grounds might actually be good because the Gravekeepers just won a YCS, so if you're playing like a mirror match, essentially they could attack into your face down Spy and it would have 2,500 defense. Moving on though, the deck plays a lot of Spies, but then it's kind of like at the snap of a finger, it can get really, really aggressive, because you have to think this deck has so many one-card Scrap Dragon plays. Whether it just be Monk being a get you a Scrap Dragon, or whether it be you tribute, whatever for Golem, or something like that, or it just be obvious the Chimera play. You know what I mean? It has so many easy ways to get to Scrap Dragon without having to have a monster on the field, wait a turn, then summon another monster. You know what I mean? And once you get Scrap Dragon out, your opponent is basically on the defensive. And that's what I like about that deck. I also like the fact that it has access to so many good synchros, and it can make them so easily. The fact that it runs Spies gives it the option, with Scrap Goblin, to make Arcanite plays, which is always like a really good bonus, especially under Decree. It's amazing. This deck can actually make Golems, ironically enough. So if you ever need to like attack over, for some reason, like a red dragon or something like that, you need to attack over a Stardust Assault, whatever, you can actually make Golems, or you know what I mean? And just a whole lot of mess of things. I don't have a Scrap Twin Dragon, but I feel like that card is just amazing too. To be completely honest, Scrap Dragon probably after Stardust is the best 8-star in the game. So I feel like Scraps have a lot going for it. There's also very limited side deck options. I mean, DD Crow just doesn't do a lot to this deck. I mean, you'll mess up one Chimera and then they'll just kind of keep going about their business. I mean, you can stop a Level Eater play, but that really won't stop them. And You know, Decree is a card that really helps them. I feel like this deck is definitely a really good pick for regionals. And if they get Golem in the field or Golem in the graveyard, and you kill Strap Dragon, like, I mean, generally they're gonna win because they can just keep making Scrap Dragons. They can make Twin, you know. And a lot of the main deck answers, like when I played my Hero Beat deck, like DD Warrior Lady, Grand Mole, people don't run a lot of those cards, you know. I mean, as far as commonly run cards, as far as, you know, just being great answers to Scrap Dragon, you really just have Bottomless and Deep Prison, and, you know, that's what these guys right here are for. So, you know, I definitely like Scraps. I feel like it's a really good deck. Honestly, I think it's going to win a YCS before the end of this format. It's just a prediction for me. And then my second deck is obviously Hero Beat, the deck that I've been playing around with. You saw Hero Beat win a YCS, and obviously he teched for his meta. And when I played the deck, I teched for my meta too. The reason I like Hero Beat is it plays a very low monster count, but it has ways to get the most out of the monsters it plays. Obviously, two of those ways being these cards right here, you know, Gemini Spark and Hero Blast. And these are cards that a lot of people aren't actually familiar with, so they play against them wrong. You know, you summon Neos, people will try and Bottomless Neos. You know, you can play the Gemini Spark. You can just blow up one of their cards, blow up their Bogart Knight or whatever. Hero Blast is just a freaking amazing card. And this deck has really good matchups because of Thunder King against Plants, against X-Sabers. And you can really keep them in control when you add the fact that the Trinity did so much for the deck, especially Warning and Duality. You know, Heroes always had a problem with either getting too many heroes in their first turn or not enough or bad, you know what I mean? Just really bad hands. And Duality is a card that fixes that. When you add in Solemn Warning, it really lets you pick and choose what you want your opponent to do, because it's like you have Solemn Warning to stop the big things, but if you're concerned about your life points and not taking direct attacks, you have things like Mirror Force and Deep Prison to back you up on that standpoint. You know what I mean? And it's really hard when you keep beaters like this on the field and you're backed with an Honest or whatever, and, you know, your opponent does have things like Trap Stun, because we all know Magic and Spell removal isn't, you know, things like MST aren't really played that much this format. People just go for the out of the home run, you know, Cold Wave, Giant Trunade. And Trunade hurts the deck. Cold Wave, you know, you play Effect Veiler, you can negate that. But when you play against things like Trap Stun, I mean, it still doesn't really hurt when you have a Thunder King face up. You know, it's like, well, you still have to get around my Thunder King, you know. And when you have these beaters backed by Honest, it becomes even harder for your opponent. I have played against the Gravekeeper matchup with Hero Beat. It is a problem. I explained that in another video. They play Necro Valley, and, you know, their 1500s can now, with Necro Valley on the field, attack over your 1900s because they're 2000s. But outside of that, I mean, this deck has a very good matchup against everything else in the meta, to be honest. You know, and not quite sure if the Gravekeeper thing is going to last, if it's not going to last. So I really feel like this is a good deck. If you saw the coverage at YCS Mexico City, I think 25% of their like top 16 was Hero Beat. So don't just, you know, consider it one of those one-hit wonder decks that won a YCS or a jump and never did anything else again, because even if not topping on the YCS circuit, it still makes it a really good regional pick, even though it has taken some other top spots, you know. And again, this is one deck that is just, there really aren't that many side deck choices. I mean, people will side deck Trap Hole and I guess Snowman Eater and against you, but I mean, well, you do have Gemini Sparks. I mean, the main thing you want to summon when you know your opponent has removal is Neo. So, I mean, you can just spark the Trap Holes and stuff like that, just like you would any other card. And Snowman Eater is great, but I mean, it's just another card that makes your Hero Blast really live. You know, let alone if you play things like I did, like Cross Out and Grammel. I mean, it doesn't really make it that great of a card. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These are two very good decks. My third deck was going to be Glad Beast, but I still don't feel like they can beat Sabers. I don't think they can beat Blackwings. They have an excellent matchup versus Gravekeepers because the way Glad's play, Glad's love decks. Glad's love cards like Spirit Reaper and Goblin, Scrap Goblin that stay on the field and aren't destroyed by battle, because that it just lets them tag out. I mean, if you have a spy on the field, I'm going to just keep ramming it all day. I don't care if I'm taking 200, 400, whatever. I'm just going to get tag advantage. So thank you guys for watching.